So good morning. Some of you, good morning. So we'll get going even though it's 10:28, but I will probably end up at times going really rapidly because I don't want to, and if we hit 11 o'clock and I've not talked about next year's project, everyone just call a rapid timeout. And so this is the first time I've actually presented in this room using the screen, so you'll bear with me if I don't know what I'm doing and if I'm looking up this way. But I just kind of want to give you a sense of this. I don't think Joan Mowbray is here this morning, but Joan, this picture appears right when you come into our office. This is the first thing you'll see, which is just this was a picture she drew of the church in about probably 1980 or so. Gives you a vantage point of the original building was over here, the brown roof, which is now torn down, and where we worshiped just a few moments ago, that's where that was. And then you see Shepherd's Hall was built and dedicated in 1978. And so there was no Ed Wing at that point. Would have been a very, very teeny lobby, or not really much of a lobby at that point. But thing I always will say is Good Shepherd, and I think George Groninger said it to me when I was in the call process, Good Shepherd never stayed put, was always willing to reach out in faith, to expand, to reach more people, knowing Montgomery County was growing, and also it's kind of what Jesus asked us to do in the first place. So, thing we do with all new members, something very, very simple, is we ask them for a word or phrase to describe Good Shepherd. It's also something I think that's, if someone asked you out of the blue, tell me about your church, it would be interesting to see what you would all come up with. And in this crowd, I'm not going to ask for you to do that out loud, but I think this is some of what you would probably come to mind, what you would hear. People talk about dynamic worship, strong music, very, very good staff. We're an outward focused congregation. We recognize our calling is to serve others. There's creative, energetic, hopeful, and welcoming people with a sense of the future. We're multi-generational, and you should never ever take multi-generational for granted. It's a great gift. We're increasingly diverse, and that's something I think is very, very important in Montgomery County to be. We have great kids programs. We're increasingly generous. It's a work in progress. I imagine saying that the day I retire. We're still a work in progress, but vital. The LCA says one of the top goals is to promote congregational vitality, and I think we're a good witness of that. And you can always be growing in your vitality, but what I think that means is we're ready for what's next. We're asking what's next. We're confident, and challenges are not insurmountable. They're opportunities to see what we're made of and what our faith is all about. A few things I just want to spotlight about kind of the ongoing ministry. We could probably go on and on about that, so real quickly let me just say is we started a men's breakfast that meets the third Saturday of the month. We started that this year, and that's been a lot of fun. It's been very, very meaningful to me personally. Don Kress spoke yesterday about the difference between mere coincidence and God nudging us and paying attention to that distinction. I just thought that was a great witness. Our women's ministry remains strong. I see the core group of our youth ministry getting larger, which is a great thing. We have a new website, which is I think a real gift. Pastor Kate really did a great job shepherding that along, but it's much quicker and it's more mobile friendly, which you need. So many people just read everything from their phone. Serving is in our DNA. We've seen more people participating in small groups. We keep having a lot of visitors, and a lot of those visitors end up becoming part of the congregation. 6 adult study groups right now. And a couple years ago, we would probably be saying, well, 2 or 3. And I think what happens is the more adults participating in intentional study, that just has an incredible organic effect on the life of the church. And so I celebrate that. And next year, our choir is going to do some sort of master work again. I don't know what that will be. I'm sure I will not be invited to sing, though. So all the things we do, we celebrate the fact that you support the ongoing ministry of the church. But we're in the midst of a 3-year capital campaign, which is people giving above and beyond to help us do more. And it's called Building Connections. I'm going to be reviewing some of what you already know, but there's also new people in the room. We call it a hybrid campaign. So for all dollars given, it's split this way. 25% is for mission expansion at Good Shepherd and our synod. What I'd say is that's the reason we exist, is to further Jesus' work. So the only reason we're here is to do that, help people come into relationship with God, serving the world, and we partner with them. And so 90% of that money we keep here at Good Shepherd, and that's helped us expand our staff, and will help us keep doing that for a few more years. And we give 10% of that money to the synod as a direct gift, because they are simultaneously doing a campaign as well. And the other 75% is for capital improvements here at Good Shepherd. So we've had a big project each summer. 2018, 2019, and 2020 will be the case as well. Somehow Mary Jo is sideways on this. I don't know why. You know, technology, it doesn't always work the way I thought. But anyway, when you connect with people, you turn their life upside down, if you will. But one of the things in this campaign, we said we wanted to do a better job reaching out to new people from day one and helping them get connected to the life of the church, as well as helping more of you get involved in mission and ministry. And Mary Jo really has been a great gift to us. She already knew a lot of people, but I think by now she probably knows 90% of the church. Immediately she spots every new person, which is a great gift. We'll get her right way up again. But in support of the synod, and just so you know, all the mission money in the synod's eyes, everything we've raised for mission counts officially as part of their campaign. So Good Shepherd is the largest campaign by far in the entire synod. But in terms of direct gift to the synod, through September we've given $20,000 in support of their campaign. That doesn't count our ongoing benevolence, which is about almost $100,000 now. And we've given endowment grants of $9,000 that have helped five other churches. And I think that's just the way you show partnership. And what we're finding is some of them will come back and do another grant because they realize that we're a supportive partner. So the other 75% is capital improvements. We've talked a lot about that. We try to lift up what we're doing. But I always use this phrase, ministry facility. We don't have a building. We have a ministry facility, and facilitate means make easier. So everything we do, every decision we make is for the sake of how does this help us? How does it make our programming more dynamic? How does it support our program? How is it more helpful for the community? So, for example, the room you're in is a much better space for AA now. They used to not be able to hear on Saturday very well. And this is where they gather every Saturday. But I'll show you some other rooms as well. But this is what our, from the, I don't know if a helicopter view of this. But we entered this whole campaign with the idea we wanted to do things that helped with first impressions as new people arrive or as you arrive, to make it look nicer, extend gracious hospitality. If we could do things that could reduce utility costs, we've tried to do that. But the greatest thing is we try to provide spaces that were flexible and multi-use. So rocket through these. This is quick review. Our fence blew down last year. Put up a new fence that really looks sharp, and put a coat closet in so we don't have roving coat racks anymore. Common sense, but a good thing. We put an awning. You probably appreciated the awning if you dropped someone off today, but it really has marked the entrance to the church in a much more prominent way. People find us. We renovated the music office across the hall. The women probably don't know this, but the men's bathroom has a big janitorial closet, which helps. The HVAC in this room was done a year ago, and in anticipation of our renovation, and LED lighting in most of the building was done last year. And of course, we did the upper level of the Ed Wing last summer. So that's just a vantage point of room 200. A lot of our committee meetings meet in there. Those tables can be taken down in about a minute. They are nesting tables, which is really pretty awesome. That, I don't know, I guess it doesn't go on there. That wall is movable, so we created a double wide room. So you see this is preschool teachers in there using the double wide room. That's the other side of that room. AA meets in there, Stephen Ministry, the bells. You might notice you can't see them real clearly, but in almost all these rooms we put now Christian art. So when you come into these spaces, you're going to encounter some story of Jesus, which is, I think, a very, very important witness, saying, hey, we could put anything up. Why not tell the story of Jesus with whoever comes? So this will be in room 200 shortly. But there's images of the Good Shepherd comforting someone in the rooms the AA uses, which is pretty cool. We have some very, very large Sunday school classes now. So I think one week we had 28. 28 in a small room would be terrible. Well, it would be nice, but it would be better. So it was much better we created a couple double wide rooms. So this is 205. And then the last room on the far left, we put in new chairs, new technology, and we have senior high meets in there, and all the women's Bible study groups meet in there as well. So 2019, real quick, and you've probably, if you've been here, you've been seeing we write this in Shepherd's Post a lot. Just a couple weeks ago, we put in LED lighting in the parking lot and on the exterior of the building, which I'll tell you, it is really bright, and you feel a lot safer when you're out there at night. So it's a safety measure, but the other thing is it saves us about somewhere between $250 and $300 a month in utility. So we make up that investment very, very quickly. The electronic sign is fabulous out there. We can change that. I already have I have it set Christmas Eve at midnight, wipes out Christmas Eve services, and it lists coming week. I mean, it's pretty cool to be able to do that. So we've done some exterior painting. The railings out here had become very rusty, and from a safety perspective, showing upkeep of your exterior facility is a safety measure. This curtain behind Chad used to be you needed to be able to really lift probably 200 pounds to crank that thing open. There's now a motor on that. We did a drainage project out here. We'll see how it works. But we needed to do some things to help with the exterior walls on the 355 side of the building. So that happened just a couple weeks ago. Haven't even gotten that in the post yet. And then certainly we want to celebrate the fact that you all just did a nice job with helping us furnish these new spaces, including what you're sitting on and so much. Just the photos, a couple quick ones. Sign, the lights going in, garbage corral. I'm sure I spelled corral wrong, so no one caught that, or you didn't. You were gracious. I think this actually, trash needs a place, and trash, if it doesn't have a place, goes all over the place. So from the get-go, when we did the fence a year ago, that was the plan, was to do something. So it took us till this year to get that done. And just for those familiar with the look of that side of the building, that's the drainage project. We could tell you more about that later. Feature project, the room you're sitting in. We sat here a year ago trying to describe what this was going to look like. we said we hoped the lights would be good, we hoped the sound would be good, we hoped the technology would be good, it would be decluttered, it would have cameras and things like that to record Pastor Ted, stuff like this. I don't know, how did we do? And when I say how did we do, it's all of us combined, because we did this together. Generosity enabled it. It doesn't happen without that. Ken Wagner and our building committee did a fine job, and just even small details, which we can go into later, really turned out nicely. So it's just you guys some of you a couple weeks ago. I was challenged to try to do this from up in the balcony, but I didn't think that would go so well. So 3 summers of renovations, 2020. Next year, we will repave the parking lot and restripe it. Not necessarily glamorous, but when you put that into perspective, the entire exterior of the facility looks very, very polished at that point. And it's probably been 30 years since the parking lot was done. Someone can challenge me on that, but it looks like it's about 30 years old. So that, that's again another good first impression. This congregation takes pride in what we've been given. We're good stewards of that, and it will serve another generation. The front entrance, we had hoped to do this year, but we couldn't pull that off. We have an architect working with us to make the front entrance ADA friendly, to cut that slope a little bit so it is ADA friendly. We'll put in bollards there that serve the dual purpose of security, but it also provides someone an ability to grab hold of something as you enter or exit a car. So we're thankful for that, and the architect will help us figure that out. You can ask Ken more details on that, because I don't have the answers on that right now. How am I doing on time? Okay, I'm fine. I was trying to illustrate how do we need new projectors. I thought that would illustrate it. I'm not sure where we are of the 5. We're definitely not the bottom one at the moment, but probably hovering in the middle right now is the way the projectors up front look. And we need to do that, and if we can do that before the end of the year, I'd be thrilled. But every week I'm starting to do this. Is that my eyes or is that the screen? And I think it's a combination of the two. I'll just give you a little insight. Philip, the one really was failing badly, so Philip climbed the ladder and he put up the one that had been in this room in Shepherd's Hall. And so the right-hand one is actually a little bit better than the left one right now, but we're borrowing that right now. And so for the feature project next year, I think I have to begin really by speaking about this. We have a lot of kids, don't we? And what an incredible gift. I mean, it really is. You never, ever take that for granted. And I think this congregation is very, very, very good at welcoming kids and making the families feel like, hey, it's okay if the kids make some noise in church. We want them here. We actually don't have an overflowing nursery because most of the kids are in church. So thanks be to God for that. But the typical view on Sunday morning is a lot of kids up front for the kids' sermon. And I realize that brings a lot of you joy. And if you flop the sermon, usually the kids' sermon and the music, it makes you feel pretty good. And I'm sure I've had some flops in my day. A lot of kids, babies, toddlers, elementary, middle school, high school. VBS is a huge program for us. Our kids are taught to serve. They sort of embody what we try to do as adults, serve others. That's the high school kids right there, somewhere Scranton, PA this summer. Confirmation has 54 students this year. 54. And so they meet in the lower level. But lots of kids requires a lot of space to do a meaningful program, because you can't just lecture to them for an hour. They will start throwing things at you. So here's just kind of the projection for the next 5 years. If we become better at inviting, those numbers will go higher. But this is based on these kids that you see in kids' sermons, the size of our elementary Sunday school. This is what it kind of looks like. 54 this year, low 50s the next two, high 40s to low 50s the 2 years after that. So as we keep making new connections, those numbers could be there. But 5 years of kids around 50 or more, I'm pretty happy about that, pretty excited. So what we want to do next year is finish the basement. Finish the basement. Out of curiosity, I'm not trying to make fun of anyone. How many of you do not realize we have a basement? Okay? Because, I mean, there's not a lot of reason for a lot of people. Like, it is the same exact footprint of the sanctuary. It's just right below it, same square footage. And just imagine that red line being the upper platform where choir and the altar is. Just kind of imagine that kind of space down below. If you took out all the green chairs, you have a lot of program space down there. And I'll get to describing that. But it has, at one point we were talking about renovating this space and trying to expand this sanctuary. Some of you who were around, we had a proposal to actually build a gym. And we were going to build a gym and move contemporary worship and try to expand this room as best we could. And we didn't seem to get too excited about that. So we built a new worship space, and the lower area has become Kid Central, if you will. So confirmation happens down there, youth events happen down there, vacation Bible school program down there. When we have a large family event, a lot of times it'll be down there. If we have like a First Communion celebration or something on Sunday morning where we need to punt Pastor Ted to another location, he can go down there. And if like a women's retreat occurs here on a Saturday, the AA group meets down in the lower level. So it's a valuable space for us, but primarily kids. So what we want to do, and I'm just going to describe it, show you a few pictures, and then I'll come back and kind of do it in a little more detail. We want to put a storage wall essentially underneath where the worship platform would be. Just kind of view that mentally, because we have a lot of stuff down there, and there's no closet really to store things, so a lot of things are just out there, and you can distract kids easily with stuff out there. And it's also just, you're better stewards of your resources if you keep things that you don't want to use at that moment sort of hidden. We roughed in the plumbing. We roughed in the plumbing 12 years ago, saying we think eventually we'll put a bathroom down there. So we want to put a bathroom down there. And that is certainly for convenience, but also safety. When you're doing a program with kids, you don't have to leave, they're not out of your sight then. You don't have to escort them up to the bathrooms up here. It's just convenience and safety, same thing. When we put this flooring, the kids used to run around in this room. Not the greatest, it's a great room, not so great to run around anymore. We want to put softer flooring down there so that we do have a space for kids to run around and play, and our preschool has an indoor recess location as well. We're going to paint the walls. The walls need to be done, and we've not had leaking problems down there for quite some time. So Ken can tell you what the stuff on the wall is later, but I'll just call it paint at this point. We're going to we'll repurpose the AV system that was in this room, because why not put those speakers and system to use? So we don't have to buy that, it's just repurposing it. And we'll certainly we have a smorgasbord of all the unwanted chairs of the church down there. So probably we would just put the same type of chairs we put in room 207 down there. So just to kind of give you a quick look, you can kind of see the upper far right is the elevator. If you came off the elevator and looked to your left, you would see our large gathering area. But we had to actually enlarge our main gathering area for the kids this year because we had more kids. But with the way confirmation is conducted, they meet in a large group for like 15 or 20 minutes, and then we need 6 or 7 locations to break out into small groups. Because if any of them are like me, which a few, well, they're not like me. The introverts in the world will not speak in a class of 50. They will not raise their hand, ask a question, but small groups they will. This is on the this side of the building. This is approximately where the roughed-in plumbing is. So if you came off the elevator and kind of looked to your right, the roughed-in plumbing is right kind of between the foosball table and the air hockey table. So I'm going to have a spiritual crisis, though. So you need to know when I do a sermon every week, I practice my sermon behind the air hockey table preaching to the foosball table. So we may not put a bathroom down for that sole reason. So this is taken from the vantage point of the 355 looking there. To their left would be kind of where the storage area would be. But you can kind of see in the background clutter. Not bad stuff we use, and we've slowly decluttered. In fact, some of the things now are up in this storage loft that we don't need, but we'll keep cleaning up. But again, so here's you know, we'll probably put this in writing so you can look at it a little more carefully. The red line on the left, storage area to the left. Okay, roughly not the entire size of like the sanctuary platform, but just use that as your mental picture down below. The rest of it is program space. The upper area up top, you can see a square that's shows bathroom. I believe it's a two-stall unit, and then there's a small janitor's closet there and a small area where you could put like a coffee pot or something like that. I can't illustrate paint, but you all have some experience with paint. Paint walls, you can picture that. A softer floor. Flooring will be probably the most expensive thing there, but you know, we'll just try to be economical, but pick something that will work for the kids. Same architect that's working on the front entrance is helping us with the design down there. As I said, repurpose the AV. We use a video, short 3 or 4 minute video every single week with the confirmation kids, so it's helpful. New chairs. What I'm describing, we didn't feel like we needed an architectural rendering for. We didn't feel like it was worth paying $2,000 or $3,000 for that description. What I would just say is it's not going to be fancy. It'll be very, very functional, but it'll be a great blessing to our ministry. The ceiling would probably still remain that kind of industrial feel. We're fine with that. The kids love the space, but we can make it even better for them. And every kid growing up in this church is impacted by that ministry space. And just imagine if we didn't build it, if we didn't have the sense that we are going to need this, where would we be today? So it's sort of like we celebrate the building of this space. I celebrate the fact that 12 years ago we had the courage, the sense that generosity is going to follow ministry growth. That's what we're looking at. A couple other things who knows if we can happen next year, but we'd love for all the units in the Ed Wing to be on the same system this is, which is you can control it via computer, off-site or on-site. It also means if a unit's left on, or the heat of the sun, it's just units will not be left on when they need not be left on. They'll happen automatically. And like the women's retreat, when you were freezing a couple weeks ago, and once we master the system further, Kate would have been able to get on there and just automatically change it real quick. But we knew the spirit was going to be alive, it was going to be warm, so we needed to get it cold. The other thing, just kind of keep in a longer-term picture, the same architect who's helping us is kind of helping us take a beginning look at the lobby. Our church council had some fun kind of describing what Sunday morning between 10 and 10:15 is like, and we used the phrase, it's like a mosh pit. It's crowded, and right now you can kind of see like the lobby classroom remains totally vacant. And what if somehow that could become a little bit more a part of the lobby flow or other ideas? So she's going to help us look at that. And then next year, knowing it's the final part of the Building Connection campaign, we want to do a vision process again, just sort of saying, who are we at this moment in time, and what's next for us? What's next? And we know there's something that's next for us. I certainly can answer questions when I'm finished this final thing, but we just committed to generosity is who this church is. That's who I am, and I don't ever sense backing off on that, because I think generosity is one of the ways God's people behave, and it's the way in which I think we change the world. All of our lives are impacted by generous people, including people in this room. So you'll see some stuff coming out. Same thing, we ask you to support the ministry year first as the top priority, and then the Building Connections campaign is the above and beyond, because if we don't do the ministry year, we just cause great anxiety and stress. And I came to this kind of conclusion the other day, that if we could all be like the CVS receipts. You know what it's like? You know what I'm talking about? You know, you expect them to give you this much. I bought one thing yesterday, and that's what I got. But, you know, I think that's, you know, they give you more than you think. And I think that's what we're called to be as God's people, is be able to give more than we think is possible, and just what happens as a result of that. So, well, I do appreciate the chance to share a little bit about what's coming. I certainly can hang around to answer any questions, pretend I know what I'm talking about. But two weeks from now is the beginning of commitment season. So we have a special Sunday where we do invite people to offer their pledges for the coming year. But you've been here long enough to recognize we keep that open for 6-8 weeks. What else I was going to say is, the other thing I would just celebrate is this congregation is really has been committed to offering pledges for quite some time. I talked to other pastors throughout the synod, and the percentage of people who offer a pledge here is just astronomical when another colleagues just can't get their congregation to do that. And, that's a tribute to you, and kind of the repetitive, we keep emphasizing generosity and keep sharing. So, can I offer a prayer? Almighty God, we give you thanks and praise for this day. We're thankful for rain and for the way it waters the earth. Thank you for the good spirit of this congregation, for the generosity that has enabled us to move forward in doing many things in mission and ministry and with this facility. Bless us in the coming year of ministry, and help us to be excited for what is to come. We know that you are always there to lead and guide us to what is next. But let us each serve in daily life using the gifts you've given us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.